Hello and welcome back to another video, specifically a 5,000 subscriber Q&A, or Q&Ace, if you will. So I will keep this brief because we have a lot of questions to go through, but I just wanted to say thank you all for your support. It is a lot of work keeping this channel going and doing videos every week, so it's really nice to see comments saying you enjoy the content, or it's valuable, or you've learned something, because that's all I'm trying to do with this channel, is kind of educate people about asexuality and make aces feel less alone, because I know that it's hard to see ace people, especially ace people like you, talking about their orientation. So thank you. It really means a lot that you guys follow my content and enjoy my content. But yes, a lot of things to get through, so without further ado, let's get started. If I were coming out to someone who didn't know that asexuality exists, I would probably give them a baseline level of what it is and what it means for you, and then leave them to do the research on their own. Because at the end of the day, it isn't your job to educate someone fully. Just say something like, oh, it means I don't feel sexual attraction. And then maybe point them to some resources like Avon where they can learn more. Yes, I am painfully aware of how lucky I am being able to learn about asexuality at such a young age. I know that older aces didn't have the resources simply because the terminology around asexuality didn't really exist. And that's the reason why I've interviewed people who are older and who have only come to learn about asexuality when they're in their mid to late adulthood, because that's a really valuable perspective to have. And I know that a lot of older ace people don't feel represented by the media and the ace community at large. Honestly, I'm not sure whether alloromantic aces would feel more romantic attraction than alloromantic allo, but I guess maybe more of your energy is focused on romance because you don't have the energy dedicated to sex. But honestly, I'm not sure, and I imagine it's probably comparable, and there's a range of experiences within either category. I think that I was pretty aware that music and media in general were very sexualized before coming to terms with my asexuality. I think it's because I tend to either naturally avoid things that are sexual in media, or it's so explicit that I am fully aware of it. For example, if you're talking about music, there's a lot of music I listen to which isn't sexual at all, like Captain Morgan's Revenge. And then there's tons of music I listen to as well, which is so explicitly sexual that it's hard to miss, like I Get Off by Hailstorm. I think it'd be very interesting to hear an ace perspective on anything really, because there's so few ace perspectives out there. We want as many people talking about asexuality as possible so we can get the range of experiences within the ace community properly covered and represented. If someone had asked me whether I wanted to be allosexual a few years ago, I probably would have answered yes, that I would, because I tended to see it more as a negative back then. But nowadays, I know that asexuality is kind of a part of my personality, and if I changed that, then I wouldn't be the same person. So no. So you think you're asexual, but you don't like garlic bread or cake? I'm sorry, but you're not asexual. I'm going to have to take your card away, and I will report you to the proper authorities, and you're going to spend, I don't know, like 10 years in queer prison for that. So yeah, you shouldn't have admitted it. It was your mistake, but now you have to face the consequences. First off, it's perfectly okay to not want to disclose your asexuality to your colleagues, because it is a less understood orientation, so you may get a bit of backlash from that. But I would first, if you're comfortable with it, trying to find people within your organization or within the job that you're working in who are queer in some way. There may be some pride group or a diversity group within the company that you could talk to about that and see, kind of test the waters with people who you know would be more accepting because they are themselves queer. But yeah, I would just get to know people and make sure you can trust them with that information, because coming out is really scary and really stressful, and you want to make sure that you're doing it in a safe environment. Just for context, I didn't actually go to the ACE conference in London. I did go to the ACE conference in Edinburgh the year afterwards though, and then I went to the online ACE conference last year. And out of those two, I preferred the in-person conference personally. In general, I guess there's more a social aspect with the ACE conference in person, which is difficult to replicate when you're doing it online. The Avon team have been really good at trying to replicate that experience though. They've been using a software called Gather, which is a good substitute, but personally, because of my social anxiety, I find that difficult to use. The number one advice I would give is just to slow down. Slow down, take your time, don't stress out about it. There's no rush to come to terms with your orientation, and you just kind of need to question and look at yourself and try to analyze how you're feeling and what you want, and then try and find a label that fits that. It may not fit exactly, and that's perfectly fine. Just try and find something that fits you roughly and that you feel comfortable identifying as. And also, it's okay if you don't want to use a label at all. So in terms of ACE book reps, I read Upside Down, which was like a gay ACE rom-com. There was also Ace by Angela Chen, which I haven't read myself, but I've heard very good things about. And then there is Loveless by Alice Oseman, which I believe would be described as an Aro ACE coming out story, coming to terms with your orientation story, which I read and was pretty good. So yeah, go check those out. I think if anyone famous comes out in any sense, then they're going to get positive and negative feedback. I would hope that someone who came out as Ace and Aro would be widely accepted. There will always be groups who have a backlash to that sort of thing, but you've got to take the positives into account and know that the majority of people are good people who accept you no matter what. I've only really got a couple pieces of Ace Pride merch. I don't really know if my ring counts, but other than that I have an Ace flag, which I occasionally use. I don't know if that's the right way around. And also I have this shirt. Yeah, as you can see, it's quite small, but it's got like cats in the colours of the Ace flag, so it's kind of a subtle Ace Pride shirt. But yeah, that's all the things I have. I would like this shirt the most, but like I said, it's pretty small nowadays, so I can't wear it very often. My favourite Ace Pride symbol is obviously cake. That's what I theme the channel around. Cake is great, I can bake cake. Cake is real, unlike some things. Yes, cake. I'm going to say it's very difficult to separate the different types of attraction, and that's very much a personal thing. For example, I find it really difficult to separate romantic and sensual attraction because they tend to like interlink for me. I would say in your specific case, body parts, although they have like societal expectations on what is a sexual and a non-sexual body part, that doesn't have to be the case. You can appreciate a body part that is generally sexual in a non-sexual way, in just an aesthetic way, and that's totally fine too. The definition of sexual attraction is the desire to do something sexual with someone. So you can appreciate a body part without necessarily then wanting to have sex with that person, and that still counts as asexual. Honestly, I feel doubt about my orientation all the time. I made a whole video about it, in fact, and yes, at the moment I'm pretty confident in it, but I'm not 100% confident, and I don't know whether I'll ever be 100% confident because I have no self-confidence. And also, you have to identify that you are not feeling something, and that requires that you then understand fully how other people are feeling, what sexual attraction feels like. Because asexuality is so difficult to self-identify, I'm always going to have some doubt over whether I am asexual. And the way that I reassure myself about my asexuality is that, one, I listen to, I guess, gay podcasts, and then I can compare my experience to that person. And the second thing that I do is that I just tell myself that it's just an identity. At the end of the day, asexual is the label which feels right to me. It's perfectly within my right to identify as asexual if that's the way that I feel, and I think if that's the label that I think fits me best. I'm a scientist, kind of, so I definitely think it is worth it to investigate the, I guess, biology of sexuality, but the fine line you have to draw there is that that cannot take precedence over people identifying the way that they feel most comfortable. So I think it's very dangerous waters. I think that if the world was perfect, then yes, that research should go ahead because it would be increasing human knowledge, which can only be a good thing. But because the world is the world, I would be very concerned about people then using that information for nefarious purposes, let's say. I realised that I was ace at about 19, and that was when I was at university, and I kind of realised that everyone else still wanted sex and they weren't making it up. So I just looked it up on Google and found out about asexuality. I feel perfectly fine about having a sexual partner. I do worry a bit about that I'm not enough in the relationship because of my asexuality, but that's more about my own insecurities in general. But I could definitely imagine dating someone who is ace. Like, I don't think it would be much different from my relationship at the moment. Obviously there'll be less of a sexual component, but that isn't necessarily important to me either way, so I would be perfectly capable of dating an ace. My boyfriend and I met on Tinder. You can hear more about that in the video that I made with him. I think before you even get to the point of telling a potential partner about your asexuality, you need to question yourself. And if you are willing to be in a relationship with someone who is allo, you need to know exactly what you are comfortable with. And that can be sexual or romantic or whatever. You need to know what you're comfortable with, what you're willing to do, so then you can set those boundaries when the time comes to it. Actually, Ace Dad Advice did a really good video about this, which I'll link in the description below. Although it might be a bit awkward, I think it is important to bring up your asexuality as soon as possible, because there might be some people who are completely against dating an asexual, and that's totally valid too. It doesn't mean they're necessarily aphobic, they might just need a really sexual component in their relationship. So I think it's important to establish whether you would be compatible on that level first. It might make it a bit more difficult to find dates, but at the end of the day you'll find someone who's more compatible with you. You're right, I did say that I would never want sex again in an earlier video. At that point in my life, I had not long come out of a relationship where I had a bad attitude towards sex and I was compromising way too much and doing things I wasn't comfortable with. And it took a long time after that for me to then question myself and understand exactly what I didn't like about that situation and what I am comfortable with in a relationship in terms of sex. And it wasn't until I come to terms with that I could then say that yes, I am comfortable having sex for the right person in the right situation. And that self-questioning process helped me then set those boundaries so that when I did get into a relationship, like the relationship I'm in now, I could then communicate those boundaries and have a fulfilling relationship. I personally do think it is safe to state that you're ace on a dating site. Maybe you want to, if you're worried, stick to the sites that are less sexual, and there are ace dating sites as well, like asexuals.net, which, yes, have a smaller amount of people on them, but maybe if you're specifically looking to date another ace person, then that might be the best bet. I tend to be pretty blunt, so I would probably say explicitly that I was only looking for a romantic relationship if that were the case. I think in particular, if you are a sex repulsed asexual, it may be worth sticking to those ace dating sites because it'll be a lot easier for you to find a relationship that is non-sexual. Honestly, I'd say the best way to make friends online isn't to go on some friend dating app, but probably just to find hobbies that you're interested in, like an online D&D space, for example. I like D&D, and then find people through that. My boyfriend and I make our long distance relationship work by communicating a lot. We talk several times a week on the phone, and we're texting constantly, and yeah, it is very difficult, but we just try and spend a lot of time together even though we're apart. I don't feel particularly comfortable in gay spaces because they are so sexual, and honestly I haven't been to a lot of those spaces because of that. What do I find attractive in people? Well, lots of things. It depends on the person, and I feel like being specific in this sense is a bad idea, so I'm not going to be. But people are all beautiful in their own way. I think the topic of kink at Pride is a very complicated one, and more than I have the time for here. That would deserve its own video. So I'm just going to say two things about it really. One, kink doesn't have to be necessarily sexual. So there are ways in which you can express your kink without being inherently sexual. And secondly, there is a compromise to be made, right? Whether that compromise is different spaces for different sorts of people, or putting boundaries on what should be at Pride is difficult, and it's very complicated. So Gayish Podcasts and Sounds Fake But Okay, two podcasts I listened to, did really good discussions about this, so I'll leave links to those in the description below. Maybe I'll do a video on it in the future, but for the moment, that's all I have to say. I personally don't have much experience with what it means to identify as trans or non-binary. One way you could possibly help someone figure out if they're non-binary or not is let them have a safe space with you where they can explore their gender expression, whether that be through clothes or pronouns. Just make clear that there is a safe space with you where they can try things out, and they can say wear a different item of clothing which doesn't conform to their gender, and see whether they're comfortable in that and how they feel in that, and encourage exploration of their gender identity. I'm not non-binary, I'm not trans, so if anyone else can pipe up with some good advice, then leave those down in the comment below. I don't really have a specific goal for the channel in mind. I'm just going to keep on doing it for as long as I feel it is useful, and as long as I have the creative energy to put into it. I know that this channel has been valuable to people, and to be honest, that's all I wanted. The only time I've been recognized by people because of the channel is if I'm in ace meetup groups, and that's happened a couple of times, and it is very strange. But yes, I'm definitely not at the level where random people are going to recognize me. Yes, I plan to do Aces Assemble every year, I guess. This year I'm going to try and make it a bit more formalized, send out a form and stuff, but it's not until later in the year anyway, so I haven't started thinking about that yet. So yes, I am not very comfortable with social situations. I get a lot of anxiety about that sort of thing, but honestly, at the moment, I'm in a room by myself, I am talking to my camera like a crazy person, and yeah, there's no one looking at me, so what do I have to be worried about? I decided to make this channel for two reasons. One, to educate people within and outside the ace community about asexuality and do my best to disseminate that information so more people can have access to it. And two, to share my story in the hopes that people can relate to it and feel slightly less alone. Yeah, there are a few other Ace YouTube channels that I could recommend. Ace Dad Advice that I talked to last week is a good one, new one. We have Alex, who occasionally does videos about asexuality. He's got a bunch of backlog because he started before me. And then Samantha Amy, she's our Ace Spec. She's done a lot of videos about aromanticism and asexuality and the spectrums of both, so do check those out too. Any others? Gentle Giant Ace, he's a good one too. He's our Ace. I think Yasmin Benoit also has a couple of YouTube videos on her channel. So yeah, go check all those out. I'll leave links in the description. I don't really plan to extend my content into comedy sketches. That's mainly because I don't have the comedic creativity for that sort of thing. If someone wanted to involve me in a sketch, I would be happy to oblige, Elliot, but I don't have any specific plans for that. There are tons of subjects which I love to learn about. Physics in particular, I suppose. I studied physics at university, so that's a big thing that I really like learning more things about. But yeah, any science, art, engineering, like anything, just give me information, I will absorb it and enjoy it for the most part. I would probably, if given the choice, go to the past rather than the future. I am concerned that the future would be very bad So I'd rather pretend that it's going to be good and go to the past and like see a mammoth. I don't really have that many Ace or Aro headcanons. Dusa from Hades, like I talked about a couple of weeks ago, should be a pretty big one. Cyrus from Octopath Traveler, the Square Enix RPG. Caspar from Fire Emblem Three Houses, I like to think is homoerotic Ace. He just gives off some Ace vibes to me, and also he's cute, so yeah. But those would be the main ones that I can think of. Do I have any fandom characters that I relate to in general? I don't know. It's difficult for me to think about things like this. I don't tend to relate to people in stories. I guess it's because I tend to see stories from like a very third person perspective, and I'm not putting myself in the shoes of the characters, I'm just enjoying the story as it goes along. I have never eaten instant noodles because I'm a food snob. That is all. Between cats and dogs, cats all the time. I love cats. Dogs perturb me. There are always good video games that I've been playing. At the moment, I am playing Spider-Man on the PS4. I am playing Total War Warhammer 2 because I am super hyped about Total War Warhammer 3. And also I'm playing a bit of Bowser's Fury in the like Super Mario 3D World because I really loved Super Mario 3D World on Wii U, and I bought it again on Switch to play with my boyfriend, but I'm playing the Bowser's Fury bit single player. Games. I don't personally think that I'm amazing because no self-confidence, but I guess everyone is amazing in their own way, and because of all the variables that go into a human being, everyone is unique, and unless they drown kittens, then they're amazing in my book. An interesting fact about me. I don't know if I have any interesting facts about me. I used to do trampolining. Is that interesting? Who knows? I don't study anything at the moment. I do have a degree in physics, which then landed me a job as an optical engineer, so I test and design lasers. That's my main thing I do. YouTube is just kind of a side hobby. Yes, I do like Pokemon. I have played pretty much every mainline game since Diamond and Pearl. My favourite Pokemon, I know you didn't ask, but it's Ludicolo, because he's a like Mexican pineapple duck. Yes, Pokemon is great. I have played Minecraft before, but it never really hooked me. My favourite potato-based product is probably some really good, well-seasoned potato wedges. I know a lot of people say, why would you eat potato wedges when you could eat chips? But honestly, I like the chunky wedges. You're making me choose between the whole of the universe with this question. You realise that physics encompasses the workings of the entire universe, and you want me to pick one topic? Okay, so just to be consistent with my job, I'm going to say optics, laser optics, because that's what I work with day to day. But no, every part of physics is interesting, and it's difficult to choose a single topic of physics, even like a massive topic, because it's all just so damn cool. I don't really know what the coolest flower is, mainly because I don't think I can give a well-informed answer, because I don't know much about flowers. I did see this flower the other day at Cramond Island though, that was pretty cool. I would probably paint my bedroom green if that was the only colour I had to paint it for the rest of my life. It was probably this green. I don't really like neither tea nor coffee, especially not coffee. It's horrible, disgusting. I hate it. My favourite type of cake. I've actually answered this several times. It's carrot cake. Carrot cake happens to be my favourite type of cakes. And maybe here, j'ai commencé à apprendre le français à l'école, peut-être quand j'avais 10 ans, mais c'était juste un peu. Et bon, mon diplôme était la physique avec une langue européenne. Alors j'ai étudié le français en même temps que la physique. Et je suis passé la 3e année de mon diplôme à Lausanne en Suisse. C'est la la pratique francophone de la Suisse. Et après ça, j'avais un copain francophone. Ça m'a aidé à m'améliorer mon français. En fait, j'ai parlé à un journaliste français et c'est difficile de moi de lui comprendre. Mais bon, il faut que je pratique beaucoup pour bien parler parce que I don't know what this is, but it's terrible. Yes, I'm very rusty, is my point. I am very boring with my ice cream flavors. My favorite ice cream is just plain chocolate. It's good, okay? Although, to be fair, I did have this really nice dark chocolate ice cream once, and that was to die for. So maybe dark chocolate. But yes, that is all the questions. I hope it didn't take too long. I tried to be as brief as possible while still answering them in good time. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'm pretty sure I didn't miss any questions, but if I did, leave them down in the comments below and I'll try to respond to them by just typing. But yeah, once again, thank you so much for 5,000 subscribers. I really do appreciate your support, and without you, the channel wouldn't be anything. Thank you, and I really hope that this channel continues to grow because I wanted to reach as many people as possible so it can help as many people as possible. So thank you. But that is all I had to say today. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like. I post videos every Saturday, so if you want to see more, then feel free to subscribe. And that's all I had to say today. Have a wonderful day, and I shall see you next time.